Welcome back, friends, to another episode of the Pine Grove Briar. Pine Grove Briar is recorded and produced right here in Pine Grove, Tennessee, in the Pine Grove community of Scott County, Tennessee. And this is another crackling episode of the Pine Grove Briar where the smoke is sweet, the stories are long, and the company, well, that's the best part. And I'm your host, sitting here in Pine Grove. I've got a hot cup of coffee and a freshly packed bowl of pipe tobacco. Today's episode, we're going to talk about a couple of different things. And I made a little visit to a little place in downtown Gatlinburg called the Gatlinburlier Tobaconist. And the blend in my pipe in this episode is a curious little concoction called Frank's Blend. More on that in just a second, but first, let's talk a little history. You know, whenever I light up a new blend, I like to think about the very first soul who ever said, you know what? Let's dry out this leaf, light it on fire, and breathe it in. Now, depending on who you ask, pipe smoking dates back thousands of years. Indigenous peoples in North and South America were smoking pipes long before Europe ever dreamed of crossing the Atlantic. Ceremonial pipes, peace pipes, war pipes, there was a pipe for every occasion, kind of like socks today. One of my favorite historical anecdotes involves Sir Walter Raleigh. Yes, the same guy who introduced tobacco to England and somehow still managed to lose his head over politics. Legend has it that he was enjoying a quiet smoke in his garden when a servant saw him puffing away, thought he was on fire, and dumped a bucket of water on him. So, if you've ever coughed mid-draw or set your mustache ablaze, just remember, even Sir Walter Raleigh had bad days. So, anyway, let's talk some turkey. Or in this case, let's talk some Frank. Frank's blend comes to us from the fine folks at the Gatlinburlier Tobaconist downtown Gatlinburg at the Mountain Mall. And if you ever visited, it's like a tobacco lover's Disney World, but with much more briar and a lot less goofy. Depending on who you talk to, there's probably a lot of goofy in there too, but just kidding, guys. I love all of you down there. Frank's blend is, how do I put this? It's like sitting on a front porch in October, watching the leaves fall while someone bakes an apple pie in the background. It's an aromatic, no doubt, but it's kind of like dried apricots. How did I say that? I said apricots. Apricots. Stupid. Sometimes I don't pronounce my words just right. Apricots. It's apricots, right? I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of like apricots hiding in an oak drawer. So, anyways, we're going to light this stuff up. And we're going to, by the way, this particular pipe that I'm going to smoke this blend in came from the Gatlinburlier Tobaconist. And it's a beautiful briar pipe. I mean, even the stem is beautiful. I love it. And those guys down there, Richard Turner, he is such a good soul. Go down there and see them down there at the Gatlinburlier Tobaconist in the Mountain Mall. You will not regret going down there to see them guys. So I'm going to light this up real quick. I might light this up. You're not going to believe this. My pipe is out of fluid. Excuse me, not my pipe, but my lighter is out of fluid. And I can't light nothing. What a blessing that is. Let's see here. I might have to get a little creative because I've got my studio set up and I can't believe the thing about it is I thought in my mind beforehand I better put some fluid in my lighter. And guess what I did not do? I did not put fluid in my lighter. But just when you think that you're out of luck, then you remember that very close by you have a book of matches that the guys at Gatlinburlier Tobaconist gave me. As a matter of fact, I have about 4 or 5 books of matches from these guys. So the lighter did not prove to be an issue. So we're going to light this up with one of these here matches that these guys give me. And I'm going to tell you about Frank's blend. Mm, that is amazing. And I'm going to be real honest with you. Uh, I've had this blend and this pipe since Friday of last week. Today's Wednesday. And I had not lit it up. This is the first bowl of tobacco that I've had in this briar pipe. And my first go around with Frank's blend. I love it. It's smooth and mm. You know, a lot of pipe tobacco, when you light it up, has a real bite on the end of your tongue. Oddly enough, this tobacco blend does not have any kind of a bite on your tongue. And man, that is awesome. You kind of get a woodsy kind of undertone to it. Kind of like toasted marshmallow met a church pew and they decided to start a jazz band. Mm, I love it. Love it, love it. Guys, thank you very much. It burns real steady, even with a lazy kind of cadence, which is great for talking like I'm doing right now. Retro hell pleasant. It's like a warm hug from an old flannel shirt. Now I'm going to be honest with you. I do not know Frank personally. But based on his blend, I'd say he probably wore suspenders, had an encyclopedic knowledge of bluegrass, and could probably fix your truck with just a pocket knife. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it makes sense to me. Hmm. Every pipe smoker has a story, or a cautionary tale, perhaps. Mine, let's call it Grandpa's Pipe 1995. So I was still pretty green. I was 19 years old, and I was fresh out of high school and thought I knew everything about everything, including pipes, because I'd seen my grandpa smoke a pipe my entire life. Grandpa always, he either had a cigar in his mouth or a pipe in his mouth. And I'm still getting a draw off of this tobacco blend, so excuse me for pausing mid-story. I get accused of doing that quite often anyways. I was fresh out of high school and thought I knew everything about pipes, and Grandpa always lit his pipe with a Zippo. I don't care. He always lit his cigars with a Zippo. And my dad always had a Zippo lighting his cigarettes. Dad never smoked a pipe or cigar that I can recall. He didn't do that, but both of those guys had a Zippo. They always lit their tobacco with Zippos. And anyway, I didn't have a Zippo. I'd been smoking since, well, this is an odd, well, maybe not too odd, but I'd been smoking since I was 9 years old. And you say, well, how in the world? So, 9 years old, and ironically, the same year that I got saved. But anyway, 1985, they didn't have the kind of laws and rules in effect that they do now. Now, was I going to the store and buying cigarettes or pipe tobacco or anything like that? No, it was not. But Dad always smoked, and my grandpa always smoked. And so I'd follow them around the yard, and I would pick up their cigar butts or cigarette butts and smoke the ends of them till they burnt my fingers. And so by this time I was 19, and all I had though was one of them cheapo lighters, the kind that burns your thumb and your soul at the same time. So I was trying to light this pipe that I'd snuck in and got one of my grandpa's pipes, and I thought, man, I'm gonna light this pipe. I'm gonna smoke it just like Grandpa does. Well, I was lighting it, and I dropped it into my lap mid-light, and that was the day I learned two things. First, synthetic fibers melt faster than butter on a skillet. And second, never light your pipe wearing gym shorts. And my chair still had the scars on it for a long time. We called that chair Smokey. But anyway, those are my 2 life lessons that I learned that day. I just happened to think about that story the other day, and it was pretty funny. Anyway, let's open up the old mail pouch. Jeremy from Missouri wrote in and asked me a question about my pipe smoking. He said, "Do you swirl your smoke in your mouth before retrohaling?" Now, Jeremy, buddy, that's advanced maneuvering. That's like pipe smoking Tai Chi. I like to give smoke a little swirl, but more like a lazy river than a whirlpool. You want to taste them notes without choking on them, like sipping soup instead of chugging it. Hank from North Carolina said, this is from the comment. Hank from North Carolina, I was telling him the other day we was going to have an episode about Frank's blend. He'd been into the Gatlinburlier Tobaconist, and he said he'd smoked Frank's blend during his daughter's wedding. Said the bride cried, the groom cried, and he cried. I thought that might have been from nostalgia or maybe a nicotine buzz. Either way, thanks for sharing, Hank. Appreciate that. So, in closing today, Frank's blend from the Gatlinburlier Tobaconist gets a firm Pine Grove Briar nod. That's what I say about it. It's approachable, and it's cozy, and just complex enough to keep you interested without demanding all your attention. Perfect for porch sitting, book reading, or in my case, podcast recording. So if you find yourself in Gatlinburg, swing by the Gatlinburlier Tobaconist. It's on level D in the Mountain Mall in downtown Gatlinburg. And tip your cap, buy some tobacco, and talk to them fine guys behind the counter. Tell them you're there to get some Frank's blend, and I'm sure they'll also give you a tale or two. Those guys know more about pipe smoking, cigars, and they got some awesome chewing tobacco in there too. I'll review that and talk about it on another episode. But today we're talking about Frank's blend. Tell them I sent you down there. The Pine Grove Briar sent you in there to get some Frank's blend, and just tell them that I sent you there. Grab some. Ask for Richard or one of those other guys. Get you some Frank's blend. We'll talk about more about the Gatlinburlier Tobaconist on another episode. But if you like this episode, leave us a like, share it with a fellow puffer, or send in your own pipe tales. Until next time, we're glad you joined us today. And here at the Pine Grove Briar, we're drawing on history and humor, one pipeful at a time.